My name is Kate, and I live with my husband, Michael. We now run a restaurant called Sunflower, which we got from my grandfather. He loved this restaurant a lot and had many loyal customers. Even though my grandfather was very sick with cancer, he kept working at Sunflower. He would say, "I don't want to be lying in a hospital bed. I want to be at Sunflower working until my last day." Even as he got weaker, he stayed cheerful and kept serving food with a smile, enjoying chats with his regulars. My grandfather passed away today with his family around him. He made me his granddaughter, the new owner of Sunflower. He knew his time was coming and left a clear will about who would take over the restaurant. I decided to follow my grandfather's wishes and take over Sunflower. Thankfully, after he passed away, the customers kept coming and the employees who worked with my grandfather stayed on to help us. Since I had learned to cook like my grandfather, I felt sure I could make the same great food. My grandfather had put a lot of effort into keeping the restaurant running, and the regulars were pleased that the food still tasted just like his. They would say, "It tastes just like Grandpa's. Even though he's gone, it feels like he's still here with us." They were glad to keep enjoying his cooking. I felt more motivated as Sunflower continued to do well, but my husband Michael was becoming unhappy. He said, "Restaurant owners should be men. Why did you get to inherit it?" I answered, "Because I'm his granddaughter. Even though I own the restaurant, you'll be working with me, so it shouldn't be an issue." Michael wanted to own the restaurant and often complained about it. But I am the top chef, and even when my grandfather was alive, Michael mostly did the shopping and never cooked. I thought it was unusual for a restaurant owner not to cook. I probably should have considered giving the restaurant to Michael. But my grandfather had clearly named me as the heir. I felt it was important to honor his wishes and respect his will. When a customer would ask, "Kate, can I have another one of these?" I'd reply, "Sure, coming right up." The restaurant was doing well, and we were very busy every day. Then, one day, someone came to visit. "Hey, Michael, it's been a long time." It was Michael's younger brother, Dave. Dave had moved far away last year for a job, but he quit and came back. I don't get along with him because he never had a steady job and seems to just mess around. I greeted him with, "Oh hey, welcome back," even though he's a terrible brother-in-law. Still, he's an important brother to Michael, so Michael was glad to see him. Dave said, "I heard your grandfather passed away. Michael, did you inherit the restaurant?" "No, I didn't," Michael answered. "What? Did your wife get it?" "No way, she's a woman. It's ridiculous that she's the owner." Dave laughed, not noticing the annoyed looks from the customers. I didn't want to deal with my unpleasant brother-in-law, so I just ignored him. Dave then asked, "Since I'm family, can I get a free meal?" "Yeah, sure," Michael said. Dave ordered a big meal, drank beer, and left without paying. He was really inconsiderate. I told Michael, even when other family members come here, they always pay. It's not fair to let Dave get a free meal, so he should pay if he's going to eat here. Michael replied, "It's okay, he doesn't have any money. We should help him out a bit." It felt like he was taking Dave's side. After that, Dave kept coming to the restaurant regularly and never paid. Each time he came, I'd ask Michael to make Dave pay, but Michael ignored me. My insistence on having Dave pay made Michael annoyed, and we started having problems. Meanwhile, Dave kept coming to the restaurant more often, and Michael and I grew more distant. Whenever Dave visited, he and Michael would go to the kitchen to talk privately. I suspected they were talking about me, but I acted like I didn't care and kept working. Dave would glance at me while chatting with Michael. One day, Dave asked, "Is there any way you could own the restaurant?" Michael replied, "My wife is the owner." Dave said, "The restaurant's location is great and there are many customers. Why don't you take over and keep all the profits? It must be tough having your wife as your boss, right?" Michael admitted, "Well, yeah." Dave wanted to take over Sunflower and was plotting with Michael to make it happen. While Michael and I weren't getting along, Dave was trying to get Michael on his side. Michael asked, "But how could we take over the restaurant?" Dave said, "I have an idea." Michael and Dave started making plans in secret. Michael agreed to Dave's idea and decided to go ahead with it. The next day was supposed to be the restaurant's closing day. Michael left early and I was left alone. Even though it was my day off, I remembered the kitchen needed cleaning. I went to the restaurant to clean, but when I arrived, I found the door was already open. I thought I had forgotten to lock it the night before. I went inside and saw Michael and Dave there. I asked, surprised, "You're here?" Michael smirked and said, The door was open. I replied, "But today is a closed day. Why are you here?" They both had smirks on their faces as if they were plotting something. Michael then said, "I need to talk to you. Since you inherited this restaurant, I don't like how you've been acting all high and mighty." "I wasn't acting that way," I replied. "Yes, you have been," Michael insisted. "Don't you agree?" Dave chimed in, "Yes, you are acting that way. You're feeling great because the restaurant is doing well and making money." I was getting more annoyed and angry. They were talking to me like I was stupid. While I was fuming, Michael started laying out documents on the table. "I don't like your attitude. I can't take it anymore. Let's get a divorce," he said. The documents were already filled out divorce papers. I was stunned by how sudden it all was. "What do you mean by this?" I asked, feeling upset and confused. The first thing I thought about was what would happen to the restaurant. I only have a few employees, and running it alone after a divorce would be really hard. This was all too sudden for me to handle. "It will be tough for me to keep running the restaurant if we get a divorce," I said. Michael responded, "We'll buy the restaurant from you. I'll become the owner, and you just need to leave." I couldn't understand what Michael was saying. He continued, "It's a waste because this restaurant has a great location and lots of customers, but it has a boring menu. We plan to revamp it." "Yes, so just sign the divorce papers and leave." Their words didn't make sense to me, and I was in shock. "This is the restaurant my grandfather ran for years. We're making a good profit. We should keep it as it is for our customers." Michael said, "That means you won't change or improve the restaurant and it will go out of business soon. We don't want that, so I'll run it for you." No matter what I said, Michael didn't listen. I was convinced that Dave had influenced him. "All right, I'll buy the restaurant for your asking price. I'll make the money soon enough, so I don't care about the amount," Michael said. I couldn't tolerate their arrogance any longer. "Fine, I'll sell it for $500,000. Just give me 2 weeks to prepare the divorce papers and a contract. Don't come to the restaurant during those 2 weeks." They were thrilled that I agreed to sell. They didn't realize that I was giving in so easily because of their selfishness, only thinking about their own gain. I managed to run the restaurant by myself until it was time to hand it over. A customer asked, "Hey, where's your husband?" I replied, "We're actually getting a divorce." "Why so sudden? Are you going to run Sunflower all by yourself?" "No, my husband is buying the restaurant. I'll be leaving in 2 weeks." The customers were shocked and looked worried. But I had good news for them. I handed out a flyer I had recently made. When they saw it, they looked relieved. 2 weeks later, I brought my husband and brother-in-law the contract to sell the restaurant and the completed divorce papers. "Now you have nothing to complain about," I said. Michael signed the contract right away. $500,000. "I'm transferring the money to your account now, so this is officially my restaurant." Michael and Dave were thrilled. While they celebrated, I packed up my things and left the restaurant. As I went to submit the divorce papers, I was eager to see how they would handle the restaurant. Michael and Dave quickly reopened the restaurant. "I've already informed the employees about the situation, so running the restaurant without Kate should be fine," Michael said. "All right, let's start making some money," Dave added. They were excited and ready to go. However, when the restaurant opened at 10 a.m., something unexpected happened. "Why aren't the customers coming?" Michael wondered. Normally, customers arrived right when the restaurant opened, but today no one showed up. The loyal employees were also missing. Michael tried calling them but couldn't reach anyone. Since this was unusual, Michael and Dave started to panic. When Michael went outside, he saw a regular customer walking by. "Aren't you one of our regulars?" Michael asked. "Yeah, that's me," the customer replied. "I was worried because you didn't come in when we opened." "Please come in," Michael said. "But I heard your wife quit," the customer said. "I used to come here for her cooking. If she's not here, I don't have a reason to eat here anymore." "Don't say that. Don't worry, we'll make you a delicious meal," Michael insisted, trying to push the customer into the restaurant. The customer reluctantly went inside and looked at the new menu. "What's with this menu?" the customer asked. "Since I'm the new owner, I've updated all the menus," Michael explained. The menu was completely different from what was originally offered at Sunflower. It featured exotic dishes with names that were hard for customers to understand, which made them less eager to order. "Okay, I'll have the steak," the customer decided. "Coming right up," Michael said. Michael and Dave started cooking with enthusiasm. Since the customer had never seen Michael cook before, they weren't expecting much. "Why is it taking so long?" the customer asked after a while. "Here you go," Michael said, finally bringing out the steak after a 40-minute wait. The customer's eyes widened when they saw the steak. "What is this?" the customer exclaimed. What Michael served wasn't really cooking. There were only 3 slices of meat in the center of the plate. The meat was burnt on the outside and raw inside, with no sauce or side dishes, just bread and soup. "The meat is high quality. The seasoning is just salt and pepper. The meat is prepared this way so you can enjoy its natural flavor and tenderness," Michael said. The steak looked so unappealing that the customer couldn't even bring themselves to use the cutlery. Even the soup seemed very cheap. I'm not eating this," the customer said, offended, and tried to leave. Michael was shocked that the customer didn't even try the food. "Hey, you still need to pay for this. It's $30. $30? Are you kidding me? I'm not paying for this piece of underscore. The customer said angrily before storming out. Michael and Dave were left in shock. They were starting to realize the mistakes they had made. Michael had never cooked before, and Dave had never held a proper job. They were clearly not ready to run a restaurant. This should have been obvious, but they were so focused on making a profit that they missed it. After the new owners took over, Sunflower never saw another customer. Meanwhile, I started a new restaurant called Sunflower Second at a different location. The original employees joined me. This new restaurant was also inherited from my grandfather. My grandfather had been worried about the old Sunflower building, so he built a new restaurant at a different site. He intended to tell people about it once it was finished, but he passed away before it was completed. I inherited this new restaurant as well. I never told Michael about it. 2 weeks before selling Sunflower, I advertised the new restaurant to our regulars. They followed me to the new place because they wanted to enjoy my cooking again. Thanks to their support, the new restaurant was busy from day one. We were able to hire new employees, and the $500,000 from selling the original Sunflower helped me give everyone a raise. At the new restaurant, I kept the original Sunflower menu but also added my own unique dishes. I aimed to attract younger customers and families by creating menus that appealed to children as well. This strategy worked well, and more families started coming to the restaurant. We grew by keeping the beloved original dishes while offering new options for younger diners. I felt fulfilled and busy every day. Meanwhile, Michael and Dave were struggling. They had borrowed money to pay me the $500,000 and were now receiving reminders about their debts. "What are we going to do about this?" Michael asked. "You're the one who started this mess. You should fix it," Dave said, sounding desperate. Dave, not expecting things to turn out this way, didn't know what to do. Then he came up with an idea. "I have a good plan," he said. They showed up at my new restaurant unexpectedly during the lunch rush with their good plan. "Help us, Kate," Dave shouted loudly, ignoring the many customers who were eating. Michael, with an injured arm, added, "I can't cook anymore. We want to return the restaurant to you, so could you just give us back the money we paid for it? The original Sunflower is now your restaurant. You signed the contract. You need to take responsibility and work hard." I replied. I didn't take Dave's plea seriously and tried to get back to my work. Then my ex-husband entered the restaurant, clearly in pain. "Kate, help me," he cried out. As Michael made a scene, I tried to ignore him and returned to the kitchen, despite the murmurs from the customers. "Wow, that looks really painful. Is he okay?" they whispered. Hearing the concern from the customers, I looked at Michael and was shocked. His arm had a huge bruise. "Wait, you're really injured?" I asked. "Yes, that's what I was trying to tell you," Michael said. "Then you need to go to the hospital right away," I insisted. I quickly called a cab and sent Michael to the hospital. During my lunch break, I went to check on him. When Michael came out of the hospital, he seemed to have just finished his examination. When I tried to ask him what had happened, he and Dave turned away from me and ran off. Feeling uneasy, I approached the hospital reception. "I think a man named Michael was seen here for an examination a few minutes ago. Has it been completed? I'm here to pick him up." "Let me check that for you," the receptionist said. I tried to find out why Michael was injured using his name at the hospital, but the receptionist looked confused. "Sorry, there's no record of a man named Michael visiting for a checkup." "Maybe he went to another hospital," she said. Michael had never had a checkup before. Realizing they were trying to hide something, I quickly went after them. After driving for a few minutes, I spotted Michael and Dave walking. I stopped my car and grabbed Michael's arm. "I knew it," I said. I looked at his arm and noticed the bruise was gone. Michael and Dave tried to run, but I held on firmly. Seeing my angry face, they stopped trying to escape. "Why is the bruise gone? You're not really injured, are you?" I asked. Michael sighed and admitted, "I didn't realize running a restaurant would be this hard. No customers are coming to the original Sunflower, so we're not making any money and can't pay off our debt. I pretended to be injured to avoid working, hoping you'd give us back the money." "Wow, I can't believe this. I can't believe you tried to deceive me with such a childish lie," I said. I released his arm. "From now on, stay out of my life. That restaurant is yours to deal with." With that, I got back in my car and drove away, feeling disappointed as I glanced at them in the rearview mirror. Michael and Dave quickly put Sunflower up for sale. They likely hoped to sell it to pay off their debts, but the building was quite old, making it hard to find a buyer. They worked around the clock, struggling with mounting debt reminders. They got what they deserved because they let greed and selfishness lead them away from what truly mattered. Meanwhile, my new restaurant is thriving more than ever, and our profits have doubled. A longtime regular customer asked to be trained by me, so now I have an apprentice. To ensure they don't become like Michael, I teach them that running a restaurant is hard work and requires dedication. I'm committed to working hard to keep my grandfather's legacy alive for many years to come.